I apologize in advance for how jumbled this post will be. I'm still processing everything, and my mind is all over the place. I don't know what to do, and I'm coming here looking for help. Please tell me I'm not crazy. I'm writing this from the floor of my bathroom, on a throwaway account I just created. I don't want to be traced back to my real account. I'm terrified. My boyfriend and I have been together for 9 years. Our relationship had been amazing up until this point. I met him in college, and he is the love of my life. We moved in together during my sophomore year of college, and have lived together ever since. I got a well-paying job out of undergrad, and supported the two of us while he completed his law degree. He was accepted into a prestigious law school on the East Coast, and we moved from California to a small town on the East Coast as he completed his program. I managed to advance far in my company over the years, and he was able to finish law school and get a job at a fantastic firm. We are not struggling for money in the least. We had $100,000 in a savings account for a down payment on a house, and a significant portion of money in our joint checking account. We had talked about getting engaged at our 10-year anniversary. It seemed like our life was falling into place. Here I was, about to get engaged, about to buy a home with the love of my life, and finally getting to start a life with the man I care most about. He had a difficult time adjusting to this new town. He has difficulty making new friends, and was definitely homesick. I noticed him becoming more withdrawn and more attached to his computer. I thought nothing of it at first. We were still doing the horizontal tango frequently. He was just as loving as ever, and there was no signs of trouble in paradise. About 3 months ago, his mood began to change. It wasn't completely sudden, and I admit, I turned a blind eye to a lot of the red flags that could have saved me all this pain. It started with him staying up all night. He'd come to bed at 5 a.m. after jumping on his computer at 6 p.m. when he got home from work. He would sleep all day and stay up all night each weekend, and repeat this cycle every week. He began withdrawing a lot more. When I would touch his arm, he'd violently jerk his arm away without a word. He didn't look at me with that same soft gaze anymore. His words were short, and his tone was annoyed, the worst of which was in bed. He was always very loving, but something about him changed. He became more animalistic. There was no more care or tenderness. It was rough, animalistic, and meaningless, and nothing seemed enough for him. It was around 2 months ago I started noticing small sums of money missing from our joint checking, and eventually our house fund. We usually kept around $5,000 at a time in our joint checking for bills, rent, and anything else, but it was depleted. He claimed an emergency came up, and I trusted him. It was once $20,000 went missing from our savings over the course of 2 weeks that I started becoming suspicious. I accused him of cheating on me, which he denied. He refused to tell me where the money went. It was non-stop arguing from here on out. I refused to deposit any more money to that account until I knew where it was going. Yesterday was the breaking point. He was sitting on the couch as I got home, a vacant look on his face. I asked him if everything was okay, and he responded with a monotone, "No." I asked him what was wrong, and he was silent for a long while. His eyes looked dead. There was no life in them. His face was pale and gaunt. He wouldn't look me in the eye. His voice sounded blank, devoid of any emotion. It wasn't him. He blankly responded with, "I don't love you anymore. You cannot give me what I need." I don't remember what happened next. All I remember is a ton of crying, yelling, and me pushing him out the door and locking it behind him. I dared him to sue me for a wrongful eviction. He left without a fight, and without a word. Needless to say, I was a wreck. I grabbed the first bottle of wine I could find off the shelf and didn't even bother finding a glass. I was sitting on the couch, sobbing hysterically and chugging red wine straight from the bottle, when I heard my phone go off. I was ready to throw my phone across the room, thinking it was him. It was an email. I opened it. The address was word salad. It wasn't one in my address book. It just looked like someone had button mashed the keyboard. The subject said, check his computer. I got angry. Had he been cheating on me? Was someone writing him out for infidelity? Did he throw away 9 years for some 19-year-old skank with a fake ID? I tore through our room, throwing his belongings everywhere. I couldn't find his laptop anywhere. I got angrier, flipping over our mattress, tearing apart our closet, trying to find that damn laptop. I eventually found it hidden under a pile of clothes. The fact that he was hiding his laptop made it even more suspicious. Wine bottle in hand and the fury of 1,000 suns boiling through my blood, I started snooping. There was nothing suspicious in his email. In his Facebook messages, nothing. I snooped and snooped and snooped, and couldn't find anything. He had transferred the money into his personal loan account, so I couldn't track where it was going. That bastard. I was 3/4 of a bottle of wine in when I began to give up. I started to type in www, when suddenly a URL I didn't recognize popped up. I went to it. It was a cam girl site. So this is where he had been wasting all his money. I bet. Was he cheating with the cam girl on here? The idiot left his account logged in, so I was able to search through everything. I could see his transaction history. He had sunk thousands of dollars into one cam girl's channel. There were absolutely no messages in his inbox or outbox, just transactions. $50 here, $100 there, even $2,000. I could see she was online. I wanted to see the face of the woman who lured my boyfriend away from me. Her channel was basic. There was one large screen in the middle, a chat screen on the right-hand side, and around 10 small windows on the left-hand side for participants to webcam if they wish. I'm not going to repeat what was in the chat box, or the kinds of things I saw in those webcam windows. Her window was empty. You could see a setup of an expensive-looking bed and bedding, beautiful artworks on the walls, and lit candles. A message appeared on the screen. The show will begin after a tribute of $25,000. I didn't think she was for real, but within 5 minutes, these horn dogs had gifted this woman over $25,000 to start her show. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared on this screen. This figure danced on the flickering candlelight as it slowly made its way to the computer. She was a beautiful woman, long, blonde, cascading hair, a perfectly sculpted body, and a huge chest. The exact opposite of me. She was dressed in expensive-looking lingerie. As she brought up a leg onto her desk, she slowly pulled her stocking up and snapped the nylon against her leg. The tips began flowing in. Within minutes, she had acquired $5,000 additional dollars into her show's bank. I didn't understand. While she was beautiful, she wasn't doing much. Snapping her stockings here, sweet-talking there, teasing participants. This went on for a while, and I realized I didn't have enough wine in the house to stomach this show much longer. As I decided to channel my rage into angrily throwing his belongings outside and find another bottle of wine somewhere in the kitchen, something flashed across the screen. I quickly looked and made eye contact with her. I blinked and they were normal again. I thought I must have imagined things. I was pretty buzzed at this point. At this time, She spoke, but her voice was no longer sweet and sugary. It was deep, almost raspy. For the right price, I will do anything you want. She had a wicked, almost maniacal smirk on her face as she said this. The tips again began rolling in. $10,000 from... Thank you. What would you like me to do, handsome? She purred. Cut your throat from ear to ear and smear the blood all over yourself. The participant typed in. I almost gagged. She did it. I half expected to watch this woman bleed out on screen, but she didn't even flinch as the knife dragged across a windpipe from one side of her neck to the other. Slowly she smeared the blood across herself, a wicked smirk on her face. I saw the black flash in her eyes again. I couldn't stop watching. This went on and on and on. I couldn't close the window. What were once clean, laundered sheets were soaked in blood. This woman covered in cuts that should have rendered her dead a long time ago. Still sitting up, enjoying the show. Her tips had soared past $75,000 at this point. I began noticing a change in her. The skin on her face had begun peeling near the site of the first cut on her throat, exposing a grayish, scaly skin underneath. 2 bumps began protruding on her forehead. Whatever underneath began to break the surface. What was once a coy, playful smile was now one that was twisted in an almost sickening, perverted grin. Her eyes were that jet black again. The pupil, iris, and sclera, all devoid of any light. None of the men on the webcam seemed fazed. The ones that were showing their face had that same vacant look my boyfriend did when he told me he didn't love me anymore. Suddenly, her hand moved towards the peeling skin on her neck. She began to pull up, pulling her face off slowly. That smile never leaving her face. I slammed the laptop closed. I gasped for breath, running into the bathroom and slamming the door behind me. I jumped into the shower, slamming on the water to the coldest setting, still in my clothes. I was awake. It was real. As I struggled to catch my breath, I heard my phone go off again. My heart skipped a beat. I was terrified to open that door. It took me about half an hour to gather the courage to leave. I slowly walked towards my phone, praying that it was my boyfriend, praying he was apologizing, praying that he was coming home, praying that this was all just a horrible, horrible prank. It was a text message. The sending number read 666. All it said was, "He is mine now, and you will be mine soon." I'm scared. Please help.